So you didn't get the guidebook?
Yeah.
I got the meeting packet.
Are you ready?
I just sent it.
Thank you.
Okay. Hang on. The recess is over. So after the report, there were no questions after the report. Are there any questions for the two presenters, Mr. Hanuth and Mr. Rogers? Mr. Torriente.
Yeah, so my main question has to do with the first conclusion that was made, and I'm just curious how that conclusion was reached, considering the fact that every piece of evidence, including all of the interviews, directly contradicts that conclusion. So we hope we can elaborate on that a little bit more.
I'd be happy to.
Sure.
So direct testimony from Josh Gutmaker states that President Torriente asked Faith Rogowski to resign, and that's in the transcript.
Okay.
What page?
Sure. One question. Informally, let's be nice. Yeah.
I'm gonna look for it to see what I actually said, or whatever. Remember, I was not here in the summer, and I think it's interesting that the committee would basically report on the quote of one person who wasn't directly involved in the process. Oh, no, I'm not gonna do it.
I know you know. That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean. I was going to put the gavel down because that wasn't a question. That was a fair point. Question mark? I know.
Was that being right?
Okay. Oh, okay. That's a good question.
Can I do one at a time?
Yes.
Okay. So to answer the first question on page 56, Alexis Arnell says, okay, so it seems like, I know you've said it before, that it's clear that you admit that Devontae asked Faith to resign from her position. Josh Gutmaker says, and multiple times, I don't know the other specific instances, Josh Gutmaker did hint or explicitly state that Devontae asked Faith to resign. I don't have those direct instances pulled up here in the transcript. I apologize for that. I can look into that more and send you direct quotes if you'd like.
That'd be great.
I would also recommend that if you have any questions, direct them to Ms. Arnell. She's not here. Wish she was. So this could be cleared up a little bit. Please direct your questions to her. Decorum, please. Are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. Wait, Haley, question?
No.
Is there a question for Sam, or is it a general question?
It's not the same.
Okay, then. So Sam, thank you, Sam. Appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
I apologize. I forgot to do that before we recessed.
No, that's okay.
Okay. So now, are there any points or motions? Mr. Rogers.
I move that we suspend the rules so that we may hear a report from the chair of the official board.
Okay. Just a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Mr. Shapiro, if you'd like to.
Hello. My report is concluded. Any questions?
Okay. That was funny. Legitimately, if you have any questions on the matter, please direct it to our parliamentarian for the day. Ms. Lickstein.
Okay, so I have a few questions for Mr. Shapiro. So first, is what would, in your opinion, be like what is the difference between the investigations the J Board would conduct versus the investigation that was conducted already?
Sure. So a couple of answers from a few different perspectives. For all intents and purposes, if the Senate votes to accept this report, it becomes admissible evidence in a potential J Board case. However, that being said, the J Board and whomever the other side of the case ends up being, if that's the Senate, if there's a prosecutor, et cetera, would be entrusted to do an independent investigation. Few differences is the Judicial Board has a little bit more time on their hands to do things like this. They also have compelling authority, unlike what the Senate committee attempted to assert. Anybody who only wanted to participate. And that being said, I don't think we would compel Rosie Black if that was an issue.
Are there any other questions?
If that answered what you were for that piece.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Chris, then we can come back to you.
What is compelling? Like how Jay work compels somebody to come?
Members of student government are either required to testify in person or by electronic communication for questions asked of the board.
How is that enforceable?
Second question. Go. Only follows.
Presumably by a method of, what's the word? Contempt.
Okay, I think his question is,
How is it enforceable by contempt charges? The board can refer contempt back to the Senate, as well as has a limited number of tools in their own arsenal.
So basically, if you refuse to testify, you would be found in contempt, that would be referred to the Senate.
If
and
you
the Senate could impeach you.
That is one process.
okay. I just came out of my mind. Are there any other questions from Mr. Shapiro? Ms. Lickstein?
Yeah, so then, let's say that we have a board investigation. What are the,
Like, what comes from that?
Sure. So there are, broadly speaking, that would be of relevancy. Two main types of cases that the judicial board considers. One is an advisory opinion. You've seen that a few times if you've watched. One came out already about this issue. An advisory opinion is not a finding of fact, but is a finding of best practice. So it's usually reserved for student government officials who say, hey, I don't really know the best way to do my job, or is this permissible within the guides of my job? And they ask the board. The board comes back with a non-binding, yes, this is totally acceptable, or no, you shouldn't do it this way, and here's how you should be doing it. An alternative method for dispute resolution is just an actual case, results in a judicial order as well as a sanctions rectification order, which basically is a finding of fact, is binding, sets precedent, and has, in some instances, the authority to rectify any misgrievances against the community.
Ms. Lickstein?
yeah, so in order to set a precedent for the future, we would have to conduct a board investigation, or can that be done, like a binding precedent, can that be done in any other way?
So the Senate could pass legislation that explicitly prohibits certain activities. It's binding in the sense that it's going against Senate legislation if you did the activity that was prohibited. It is not binding in that a board could say that that was outside of the scope of the Senate, or it's not binding in the sense that another Senate could come by and overturn it. In terms of binding precedent, for some entity, be they an individual student, the prosecutor, or the Senate, could submit a case, and any judicial opinion that results from that does become binding, barring a second case.
Are there any other questions?
Constitutional.
I apologize. Are there any other questions? Okay. You may be seated. Thank you for the report.
Very detailed.
Are there any points or motions? Mr. Rogers?
I move that we suspend the rules in order to consider resolution 15-16-019, which I just sent.
Thank you. We in favor of suspending the rules, please say aye to suspend this new resolution.
Aye.
So my only concern would be I don't think we've resolved.
Yeah, I'd like it.
Yeah. I don't think we've resolved what we're working on now, because I don't think there's been anything that says what we either do now or do next week or something like that. Okay, we can come back to that potentially. Thank you. So are there any points or motions? Mr. Pearl?
Okay, so based on the fact that we just got this, these 77 pages, and then although I believe there are some true things as in with the transcribed, interviews which are true as it happened in transcribed, we didn't have enough time to look at this. That's a lot of opinion that I don't know whether it's true or not. I would like to suspend this for a week so we have ample time to actually look over this and actually make a real educated and informed decision.
So the motion on the floor is to table this.
Second.
A week, there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, all those in favor of tabling, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Okay. So So my recommendation would be to please read the report, number one. Two, email or Facebook message or talk in person to people, ask questions to people in the report who associate with the report, ask Lex questions, because I would like next week to be civil and I would like next week to be productive. So if there are any sort of underlying issues you have with reports or questions or comments, please address them before the meeting next week. And if they aren't resolved, you can bring them to the Senate floor, but that would be my recommendation. Mr. Shapiro.
I was just going to add, if any senator would like to ask questions of parliamentary process or how things work, as always, you have my email.
Correct. This is a very important document, so I definitely recommend getting as much information as humanly possible before you make any decisions. Any decisions. So now we will move on to old business. Oh, yes, Mr. Rogers.
I move that we suspend the rules in order to consider resolution 15-16-019, a resolution to condemn recent racist acts in the university's response.
Okay, there's been a second. Are there any objections? Seeing none, we will move into new business. So I'll pull it up. Then I'll do that later. Oh, excellent. Getting involved already. So you can come up and present, both of you, if you wish. Very informally, if you wish. You have 4 minutes. Then you'll respond to some questions. Take great joy that you're already involved. So you may begin with your report. No, you can just summarize whatever you want to do.
All right. So as you know, it's already been explained. There was an incident where Black women students bananas thrown at them or left outside their doors, and this was in a residence hall. One of these took place while the student was in her own room, which seems, I feel like we can all agree, is really a violation of privacy. And we all think that your own residence hall and your own room should really be kind of a safer space. No one should be able to just bust in and throw things at you, specifically like racially significant things. So let's see. Also, after that, as you all know, AU released a statement on September 16th. We felt that the language in it did not sufficiently address the fact that the incidents were racist. It kind of said like maybe they didn't mean to be, like it's very unclear, and also there was no AU alert sent out at the time of the incident. A lot of this we're kind of having to compile from outside news sources, and it wasn't really confirmed until the 16th when it happened on the 8th. What else? Yeah. Anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing that I had to add is that there was a town hall meeting to discuss this issue, but there wasn't a lot of notice given. And the town hall took place, I believe, at 1 p.m. on a Friday. So with not a lot of notice, students and student organizations don't really have an opportunity to participate in a meaningful way. So we would have liked to see that be a little bit different in the way that that was announced. And additionally, we collaborated with the Black Student Alliance on this, and we have their support.
Excellent. Thank you for the report. Are there any questions on the resolution for the sponsors? Seeing none. It is up on the board, and if you can't read that, let me know, and I'll take care of that for you. So, thank you for the report. Since there are no questions, we will move into a period of debate. Any points, Mr. Mascaro?
I just wanted to thank both of the sponsors for writing this legislation. I think it's great that the Senate is joining other student government leaders like the president in condemning this act and expecting more from the university. This is a really great first piece of legislation for you, and Sam, I'm really happy that you helped to write it, so nice job.
Thank you. Are there any other points or motions? Ms. Lickstein.
And then vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. The opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Thank you. So I will put that in the binder. And I will also send that out when I send an update email so you can all see it. Thank you. So now we will move, oops, wrong one. We will move into old business. And we will deal with Bill 1516-032, a bill to change the approval process of the Student Government Elections Policy Book. This was all sent to you in the last agenda email. If you want it, I can send it to you. This was passed through CRP. Mr. Rogers has 4 minutes to present, and then we'll do questions. So thank you.
Sure. So I'll just say what I said in CRP. This is a pretty straightforward bill. As it stands now, the elections policy book, which has all the rules and regulations for running for office here at AU and student government, can be amended by the undergraduate senate, and pretty much whenever they feel it's necessary. It can also be amended by the Joint Committee on Elections Policy, usually called JSEP. And so I wrote this bill because I believe that elected officials shouldn't be in the business of creating the regulations for how elections are run. I just personally disagree. Like, I don't think that's ethical unless it's absolutely necessary. In most cases, I don't believe it's necessary. We have a body specifically put together for dealing with election regulations, a body composed of people appointed by the president of the student government and the speaker of the undergraduate senate. And I feel that we should let them do their job in regulating elections.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Ms. Lane?
Can you pull up?
Sure, okay.
Thank you. So when I read the bill, it sounded like it was saying that people who want to be up for re-election shouldn't be changing elections policy, but you make it sound like what you want is for it to be just JSEP. So the way that the bill is written, to me, it sounds like people in Senate who did not want to run for re-election, or people like me who have not actually been elected, could amend elections policy. So it doesn't actually create a separate entity autonomous from the Senate.
Okay, so I may have done a poor job explaining it, but at no point does it make a distinction between members of the Senate who are running for the re-election, members who have been appointed and are thinking about election. It just is removing the power from the Senate as a whole to make changes whenever they feel like it, essentially. I don't know if there's something in here that you're referring to specifically that I missed.
You can ask another question in a minute. I'm going to call Ms. Lickstein, and then you can come back.
I mean, in regards to what she's saying, I actually do see what she says here. So the first one says, be changed by individuals potentially facing re-election.
Okay.
The wording, and
Yeah.
then we amend, change the wording to
So,
be like by individuals, undergraduate senate or whatever you want to say, because it does say facing.
right. So that's a preambulatory clause. It's essentially background for why the bill is being put up. It has no effect on what the actual contents of the bill are, but if you would feel more comfortable changing that to better reflect what's actually in the bill, I would be more than happy. Well, it's not my choice, but I would support that.
So we can take care of that once we're done with questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Lane, and then I'll come to Mr. Pearl.
Can you read us the specific section that you changed from our?
Sure.
I don't know where that is.
Let me-
You got like highlighted.
So I'll just read the whole bit about the election policy book because I changed things in there, if that's helpful.
Okay.
There shall be an elections policy book that shall contain both elections policy and regulations. The Joint Committee on Elections Policy shall have the authority to amend the elections policy book throughout the year, especially as required in section 3 of this article. The undergraduate senate may either approve or veto the updated policy book as submitted by the chair of the Joint Committee on Elections Policy within 1 week after submission with a vote specified in section 3 of this article. At no point may the undergraduate senate amend the elections policy book unless the joint committee lacks full membership, in which case the Senate may pass a bill by a 2/3 vote. So essentially what I'm getting at there is that I don't believe that elected officials should make elections policy. I said that, unless it's absolutely necessary. So I don't necessarily believe that if there are only 2 people on JSEP, that they're more, like they're able to better determine what the rules are. And I know that it can be a lot of work for just 2 people. So in an ideal world, we'll have a full joint committee on elections policy. And in that case, it would be solely their domain. But if there is not a full joint committee on elections policy, then there is the opportunity for the Senate, and I would caution them against doing this, but there is the opportunity for the Senate to pass a bill by a 2/3 vote in order to amend the election policy book. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So,
Hang on. Mr. Pearl,
like,
I'll come
we
back
still
around.
have problems with that, like, potential line. I don't know if that's a thing. Currently, based off of, like, just the way this affects us, we all are potentially facing re-election because all of our seats are up for grabs once the election season starts. So we're all, whether we run or not is unimportant as to the fact of that, like, potentially we all might run again and potentially all of our seats will be open. So like, if that makes sense, I can understand that kind of weird.
Was that a question?
Say,
No,
was
and
that-
here's an explanation, so I'll want to ask a question that did that answer any.
Mr. Rogers, did that answer anyone's questions?
I think it did answer some people's questions,
Yeah.
and I believe that that could possibly be changed to.
No, I don't think so. I think it's good.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, I was good. Okay.
Good.
It answered
Excellent.
some questions for sure.
Okay. Ms. Lickstein, then I'll come back around.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm gonna skip it.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Ryan.
So to the best of my understanding, the Senate is still allowed to vote and approve the elections policy book, but can't amend specific language within the policy book.
Yes, unless, like that
Unless
clause says,
there's
there's
less
not
than-
sufficient membership on JSEP. So yeah, what would happen is if JSEP is full, they would submit an amended policy book. We would look it over, vote on it. We can't amend it though, so if we would vote no, it would go back to JSEP. They would make whatever changes are necessary, send it back to us, the process starts over.
Thank you. Mr. Wills?
So my question is, taking the power away from elected officials, doesn't having that stipulation of an incomplete committee kind of rest in the Senate's power? So I don't see how that takes away from them not having authority, because the speaker elects two positions in JSEP, and if they don't go to committee, it's not our fault that we can't, amend the policy.
Question mark?
I think I started with the question.
Yeah,
Was
it did.
Okay, what was the
So, like,
beginning question?
doesn't that not get around what you're trying to do?
Okay, so what I would say to that is that it's, I would say that the Senate doesn't choose who goes on JSEP. It's the speaker, and I would draw a distinction between the speaker of the undergraduate Senate and the Senate itself, since the speaker is not really, a voting member, doesn't represent one particular constituency. So I believe that, I think it's a good compromise between the current system and a system where there could be a joint committee on elections policy with one person, and that one person is deciding all of what happens. And I know that it's a very big job, looking through all the elections regulations and rules, and I wouldn't want just one person to have that responsibility, especially when there's a time crunch before an election happens. I don't think one person should have to do that, or 2 people, or 3. A full committee, I think that's fine. I think the full Senate is fine. But I worry that an elections policy book might not get done because we are students first, and a small group of people who are in charge of it might not have the time.
Can I follow up?
Yes, you can.
Can you tell me the last time you set the school with that?
I cannot.
Okay. Ms. Lickstein, still a question? Okay. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, we may step aside, move into a period of debate, as well as any amendments. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I was waiting until you were done. Are there any points or motions? Mr. Rogers?
Speaker, I move the motion at the desk. It was sent to you.
Okay, I'll pull that up as well. Will be an amendment of some sort. Did you? Nope.
Well, I sent it.
Just send it to speaker. Hang on, my phone just buzzed. So there it is. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
So move to strike whenever possible from the first preambulatory clause. Okay, we'll place with that. I further move to strike the entirety of the second preambulatory clause. Okay. And that's a good one. All right. So we're going to deal with these one at a time, if that's all right. So the first amendment is to strike from the first preambulatory clause. I'm going to get rid of that. You wanted to strike whenever possible. So this will go, theoretically. And after amended, it would say, whereas elections policy should not be changed by individuals potentially facing re-election.
There was a second part of that motion.
Okay.
Replacing it with unless under extraordinary circumstances.
Right. Thank you. Okay. You won't let me copy this, but that's fine. Spelled it wrong. That's okay. No spelling. Good. We all know what it means. Let's debate. I'll put it in there in a second. So we have a motion. That's how you spell circumstances. Okay. All right. Thank you. So it is highlighted in red what the amendment would be. Are there any points or motions on the amendment? Ms. Lane?
Not the amendment.
Never mind.
Okay. Are there any points or motions on the amendment? Seeing none, the chair would look favorably upon a motion to vote.
I move to adopt.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Are there any objections? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Opinion of the chair. So this. Okay, thank you. Now, next one. I further move to strike the entirety of the second enactatory clause from the bill, which reads, be it further enacted, the enforcements be continued here, and once you have concluded the therefore clauses, use a period as punctuation. Okay?
It'll be all the way at the bottom.
Yeah. Okay. You just get rid of that? Okay. That would be the amendment. Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I just want to explain that briefly.
Yes.
Dante, it was very nice of him. He sent out a template for bills and resolutions, and I mistakenly forgot to take that part of the template off the end. So I don't think we want that in the bill.
Thank you. That's why it looked so familiar. Are there any points or motions? Anybody at all? The chair will look favorably upon a motion to vote. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor of striking the second enactatory clause, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Gone. Well. Okay. Lastly, to add the following language to Article 8, subsection 7, between the word any and the word student and undergraduate. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. What section? I'm sorry.
I think it's up towards the top.
Oh.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I see it. Okay. So in here.
No, one more up. Qualifications.
Oh, qualifications of voter. Any. Oh, so. All right.
And then it's in the first, second, and third sentence.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, but I just.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any points of debate on the amendments to add the word undergraduate to 3 sentences in subsection 7? Mr. Shapiro.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what this was. This was from before Kevin's reform. It never got changed. It might, under some interpretations, allow for graduate or law school students to vote. For undergraduate, like for at-large representative, this changes that.
Thank you. Are there any points or motions on the amendment?
I motion to vote.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Are there any objection? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Whoops, that wasn't right at all. Okay. Yes, Ms. Lane, you have an amendment?
I moved to make the amendment. I emailed it to you
Good.
in a weird form.
I like how we're doing this now. You are.
So I moved to the amendment that we just made. I moved the one like 2 amendments ago. I moved to replace it completely with these 2 whereas statements because I think that they more fully represent what is actually being changed.
Okay. So just to read it out, it says, whereas elections policy should be created only by the Joint Committee on Elections Policy and approved by the Undergraduate Senate with a 2/3 vote. Second, whereas if the JSEP, whereas if the JSEP is lacking membership, the Undergraduate Senate has the ability to create and pass elections policy. Okay. So let me just put that up on the screen for everyone to see. To be stricken entirely. And these 2 would be added in its place. All right. Are there any points or motions? Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, so I would just say for the second one that says whereas if the JSEP is lacking membership, that doesn't really make sense to me as a pre-regulatory clause because that would be changing the way that the system works now. So that would be an accurate clause, and I don't really understand why.
Yeah. Ms. Lane?
I only wanted to make a more like understandable like first statement. I don't need to change anything. I thought that that was what you were saying was that if they didn't have full membership, Undergraduate Senate would have the ability to create a class election policy. So that I just meant to summarize that so that anyone just reading this could very easily see that's what the bill really said. If it's inaccurate, like tell me.
Mr. Pearl?
Do we want to change it to like therefore be acted if the JSEP or is that not what you were saying?
I think the discrepancy could be solved by the word should.
Yeah.
Where does should what?
So,
okay, Mr. Shapiro.
So, what this Senator Rogers said was that we shouldn't be making legislation in a whereas clause, but What we can be doing is saying what the legislation is doing. So to clarify from Ms. Lane's point, all you do is add the undergraduate senate should have the ability. And then that is what you're describing is the rest.
Thank you. Mr. Hurwitz.
Well, if I remember from before, JSF is not normally full, and no one can really remember the last one was full, so it sounds like the undergraduate senate would always be passing election policy, which is not our job. So I think it should be moved, or change it to that JSF should be able to pass legislation. They have at least three-fifth members or some sort of members. I don't think it's our job to be passing election policy.
Mr. Rogers, yes.
Is this debate on the amendment that's currently up?
I think that was just more of a general point. Noted, appreciated. Let's stick to the amendment in regards to the second one, right up here. So, are there any more points or motions on that? Is there? I believe we have to vote on it and then change it. So, Nancy?
Yeah.
We would need to vote on it,
Okay.
and then if you can't amend something that's already.
You can amend an
I
amendment.
can amend my amendment.
You can amend
but I
an
made
amendment?
it.
Okay, then we just gotta vote, then we gotta debate on the amendment to the amendment, right?
Correct.
Okay. So, Delancey. Yes, it's a fun job we do.
Okay.
That was off the record. So, would you have an amendment to your amendment?
I would.
Okay, so what might said amendment to amendment be?
Changing the second whereas clause to say, whereas if the JSF is lacking membership, the undergraduate senate should have the ability to create and pass elections policy.
Oh my word.
That's not what I said.
Okay.
I'm not in the right place.
Okay, please say it again. I was just assuming.
Whereas if the JSF is lacking membership, the undergraduate senate should instead of has,
Oh, okay.
and make has have. So we keep, and then you take away the has. And yeah.
I get you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, second, okay. Are there any points of debate on the amendment to the amendment? Okay. Mr. Pearl's motion to vote, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any objections? All those in favor of the amendment to the amendment, which adds in green, should have, to the second whereas clause here.
Aye.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Jumping the gun, aye. All opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, that passes. So the amendment to the amendment passes. So this is now part of Delancey's first amendment. The has been removed. Mr. Rogers.
Remove the previous question.
Okay. So is there? I lost my tongue there. All in favor of the amendment, please say. Oh, hang on. Are there any objections to voting? All those in favor to the amendments, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. This has been added. Okay. Are there any other points or motions? Are there any other points or motions? Ms. Lane.
Sorry. Sending you right now an email to amend the bill.
Okay.
Here it comes. I would like to, I'll just read out loud while I send it. Strike, quote, in the bill, in the vacancy of the chair of the Joint Committee on Elections Policy, the president and speaker shall jointly appoint a new chair with the advice and consent of the undergraduate senate, and replace it with, quote, in the vacancy or resignation of the chair of the Joint Committee on Elections Policy, the vice chair shall assume the role as chair. Reason being, it will make the process a lot easier. It makes sense to make the vice chair the chair in the event that the chair disappears.
All right.
I'll send that quote to you.
Did you not already?
Well, I'm doing it on my phone.
I've been clicking refresh like 9 times.
So chill.
I'll make a note of that.
Day.
That's perfectly fine.
Mhm.
Also, please note that she said I should chill.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And that, okay.
Is that it?
My phone is blowing up. I'm really popular. You now have it.
Okay, you know what? Forget this. It's not sending.
This one did. This one isn't.
Okay, well,
Oh, it says something.
you know what? Let's just do it the old-fashioned way, all right? I appreciate the trendsetter over here, but let's just do this the old-fashioned way. So please tell me where in the document I can find this.
Yes, you can find this section 3, subsection 3.
Okay, in responsibilities.
Right.
Okay,
And it says, in the vacancy of the chair of the Joint Committee on Election Policy, the president and speaker shall jointly appoint a new chair for the advice and consent of the undergraduate senate. Do you see that line?
Good leadership.
Never mind.
You're in section 4 right now.
Go to section 3.
oh, oops, okay.
Here we go.
In the vacancy, okay.
Yep. So I want to strike that line.
So all this.
Nope, go up. There's just the one line. In the vacancy to undergraduate senate. Sentence of the undergraduate.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, so you want that gone.
Right? And it would be replaced with the quote, ready?
Yes.
In the vacancy or resignation of the chair of the joint committee. Oh, okay.
Fix my spelling later. Okay, in the vacancy or resignation
Of the chair of the joint committee on elections policy, comma, the vice chair shall assume the role as chair.
Okay. So I'll tidy this
I
up.
think they have to be capitalized and stuff.
I know. Yeah, I'm going to tidy it up. So you all know what it is. I'm just tidying it up. So in the vacancy or resignation of the chair of the Joint Committee on Elections Policy, the vice chair shall assume the role as chair. All right? Are there any points or motions on the amendment? Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, so I would just say, from my point of view, this amendment doesn't make sense. The chair of JSEP is initially appointed by the speaker of the undergraduate senate and the president jointly, whereas the vice chair is elected by the committee itself. So it doesn't make sense for me to have someone who's elected by one group of people come into the role of a person who's supposed to be appointed jointly by the speaker of the undergraduate senate and the president of the student government. That being said, there's already, a clause in here that says the committee shall elect a vice chair to assume the chair's responsibilities upon their absence. So I would take that to mean that the vice chair would be in charge of the committee until such a time when the president and speaker jointly appoint a new chair. And that isn't to say that they can't choose the current vice chair. They'd be able to do that.
Excellent. That means 30 seconds, just for everyone in the future. Thank you. Mr. Wills? Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Go.
So the reason for this is,
Just talk.
okay, so JSEP has an unlimited term right now, so it doesn't make sense to reappoint somebody, and that the vice chair would have already had to go through either the president or the speaker's nomination with the consent of the Senate. So it makes sense to do that all over again.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Will said that members of JSEP have to go through either or the president of the student government or the speaker of the undergraduate senate. That's accurate. And I don't think it's redundant to then have somebody appointed jointly, because it's a very different process having someone appointed by two people jointly as opposed to going through one or the other. It's like if you have your parents. If one parent says one thing, then you go to the other parent, they might say another thing. But if they're together, the decision is completely different.
Thank you. I've already given you speaking rights, so let's just ignore my previous faux pas. So, Mr. Wills.
So for instance, right now, I resigned as chair. The only other member is Luis, who is actually vice chair. So we would have to, the president and the speaker, jointly appoint a new chair, even though Luis has been with me for almost a year now. He knows what's going on, rather than have a completely new person come in, take and control the committee. So that's.
You both had 2 points. Mr. Shapiro.
Yeah, I'm just from a judicial perspective very confused on how to interpret what this paragraph would look like in the future. Specifically, I don't know what it means to, so like the way I read it, there would be one appointment for whomever the chair is, that would be joint. And then there would never be a joint appointment to JSEP ever again, because there will always be some vacancy that gets filled by a vice chair, unless there's never a vice chair. So that just seems to me like we're creating 2 processes for the same person, and is at best confusing, at worst contradictory.
Thank you. Are there any points or motions? All right. You've already had 2 points. Sorry. Luis. I don't want to make the same mistake again. So, would anyone be interested in granting the chair of JSEP speaking rights? Ms.
I would
Lane.
like to grant speaking rights to the chair.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any objections? Seeing none, you get 2 points. So, your first point.
The first point is that on section 3, subsection 1, it says that the Joint Committee on Election Policy will be a continuous body established with the intentions of perpetually creating and reviewing student government election policy. So, if the intention is a continuous body, then it does make sense that the body keeps electing its chair as it goes. And the vice chair is already the most qualified for that, considering that the vice chair's job is to help and maintain the committee going. So I would not see it to be sensible for the in any circumstance that the president and then the speaker would then go over the vice chair to appoint a new chair when the new chair should be the vice chair who's been trained for that position.
Thank you. Are there any other points? Mr. Hurwitz.
Can we amend, or instead of make the vice chair have to be appointed by the president and a student government and the speaker, that way it's problem solved, and then have them immediately go to the chair?
You could. That's up to you all. So, thank you for the proposal. Consider that. If you are interested in that, think about it and weigh that in your consideration of this amendment, all right? Noted. Thank you. Are there any other points or motions? Seeing none, the chair would look favorably upon voting on the amendment.
I move to vote.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? All right. All those in favor of changing the area in red that is stricken through to the area in red that is not stricken through, please say aye. All opposed say no.
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 All right, in the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. This fails. Active participation. So this will remain. Mr. Mascaro.
If there are no more amendments, I would like to vote on the bill.
Excellent. Are there any objections? Seeing none. Are all those in favor of the legislation in hand, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the yeas have it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. So thank you, Mr. Rogers. And I'll amend this later. So, all right, moving on. So now we'll move into a period of public comment. All those, remember everyone, if you're in student government, no, excuse me, if you're in the Senate, please just lower your laptop. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? You're in student government, so he's in student government.
It's fine. We'll talk after.
Of course we will. Do you have a point? Yes, okay. So, Jeremy, any point?
I mean, it's not necessarily a point. I just wanted to mention it maybe get their endorsements of student government.
Okay.
Next week, Wednesday, we're having the Workers Appreciation Day, and I would love if you guys could probably send out a shout out to the students to like have a positive attitude when they approach the worker and kind of just appreciate them on that day, especially because we're trying to make sure that it's a better environment for them.
Excellent. Thank you. Mr. Schneider has taken note of that.
Yes,
And we'll take care of that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, we will move into go to the order. Now, you all got your buckets out. So if you want to speak, please raise your hand, and I'll get you second to last. And Josh, do you want to speak?
No.
Okay, so I'll get you second to last. So if I put your name down, please lower your placard. I'll get you after the senators. Chris. Any other senators? Okay. Any other members of student government? So we'll do. Any of the members? Chris? Any other? Nothing. Okay, so go to the order. We'll start with Mr. Rogers.
Good work today, everyone. I just wanted to say there were a lot of shenanigans today on my part, suspending the rules multiple times. So I want to thank you all for sticking with me on that. We got a lot of work done. And I also want to say at several points today, emotions were running high. I want to thank everyone for being as civil as we can be. I know it's hard sometimes for all of us. And I also want to say, if any of you have questions about the Committee on Oversight and Accountability's report, I would be happy to answer them. Ideally, go to Lex first, since she's the chair, or George, the vice chair, but I'll be around if you have questions.
Thank you. Mr. Pearl.
So, hi, I'm just saying, if you're on finance, I need to.
Thank you.
Good job today.
Vice Chair of JSEP, Luis.
Yes, I would like to comment that because of the decisions today, JSEP is now chairless. And the speaker, I would like to remind the speaker and the president that in order for the committee to meet, we require a chair. So the sooner the better. There's also a 7-day period in which the speaker and the president should have chosen a chairman, unless it was amended today. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Mr. Schneider.
You skipped.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. That was very unintentional. John.
Sure it was. Hi, everybody. As I've said a couple of times past weeks, the board is hiring 2 positions. We should formally announce who the clerk is later tonight. It might honestly be already up on the website, but that person doesn't know they have the job yet, so I hope not. And we're announcing a prosecutor hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday-ish. Very much dependent on if we get any new applications, as well as how some interviews go. If y'all have any questions, things you want to talk about, send me an email. You know how to reach me.
Thank you. I do apologize. Mr. Schneider.
Hi, everyone. I just want to reiterate the importance of the info sessions, like I talked about in my report. Please come and about the student, the Workers Appreciation Day, shoot me an email with a secretary with all the info, and I'm happy to
Thank you. Thank you. Devontae.
You all should receive the memo about the updated secretary application process. Please invite people to apply. You all stress the importance of having an open application process. Make sure you're letting people know. We've pushed it out on social media and whatnot. So just make sure you're letting your friends and people you know about the application so that way they can apply as well. If you have any questions about that, let me know. If you have any questions about the report from today, let me know. I'd be more than happy to go through what happened with any of you. I will have a little bit less availability. My LSAT prep classes start this week, so I'll be a little more tied up with that. But let me know and we can figure something out.
Cool. Thank you. So good meeting. I'll get out of this on. Good meeting, everyone. I like having meetings hovering around 2 hours long. I think that's much more appropriate than having it what used to be around 4. Efficiency. Well, that was one time. Don't scare the new people. So, for the new people, thank you for going through the process. I really enjoyed interviewing you all, and I'm happy you're in the body. Congratulations to Emma for her first resolution being passed today with Sam. Very important piece of legislation, and I'm very happy that I get to advocate on behalf of that piece of legislation now. One minute. Let me finish. So, this was an important meeting because a lot happened. A lot was presented to us today. And as I said earlier, informally, I really stress that you read the majority of the report. 70-something pages, just read as much as you can. Be prepared, because next week is going to be very important. A lot of big, important words were thrown around today in regards to what people think should happen. That is up for you all to decide. It is not my decision, but once something is filed, I have to abide by it. I have a certain set of rules that I was given by previous speakers on how to handle that. It doesn't come around very often. Consider your actions. Be careful. Just make sure you all know what happened and what is going to happen before anything occurs. Ask questions. Be curious. Don't be shy. Ask any of the people mentioned in the report questions, because I'm sure they'd be happy to answer. You can ask me questions, because I was here over the summer. Ask Faith, ask whoever you want. But let's make sure we do this right before it happens at all, if it happens at all. God help us. Mr. Schneider, did you have another point?
Yes, I just wanted to address the new senators. So I will put in your AUSG email addresses. So it should be an email at secretary@ausg.org, AU student email address, and I can get that created for you with a temporary password.
Yes, please respond to that, because communications are going to be key. Thank you. If there are any more points under the order, seeing none, the chair will favorably upon a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Any objections? Seeing none, we adjourn until next week. Finance, please go to Chris. It is vital that you get your NDA signed.
Awesome. Go.
Hey, Chris, I have someone else from here.
Yeah, talking points, people, execs, senators, chair and vice chair, J board. That's it. That's it. That is typically under 8. That was also who can talk in good of the order, unless. I don't know what the rules are about that. That's in the document we have updated it for.
Yeah, we should.